Hello, this is Sal. In today's practice lab, there is a lot to do. On the description of this lab, download the walkthrough documents and the packet tracer source files. Then you will be able to do this lab from the beginning. The configurations of the interfaces on the routers and the dynamic routing protocol EIGRP, NAT, static and default routes, and subinterfaces, configure basic device network management, configuring port security on the switches, then configuring iOS IPS, and then after that configuring zone-based policy firewall ZPF to implement security policy. Now, because I have a lot to cover here, I will start by configuring the routers. I will start with the internet router. Enable configure terminal hostname internet. The interface of serial 000, IP address of 8.8.8.2/30 subnet mask, and enable the port with no shut. The other interface on serial 001, IP address of 192.168.1.1/30 subnet mask, and enable the port with no shut. And then the interface of gig 00 with the IP address of 10.2.2.1 with /24 subnet mask, and enable the port with no shut. Now I will configure a static route to the network of 209.165.200.240/28. This network here, because for the public IP addresses for the two servers, these are the IP addresses we will be using for the DMZ web server and for the DMZ DNS server here. So back to the internet, exit, IP route to the network of 209.165.200.240/28 subnet mask of 255.255.255.240, and the exit interface on serial 000. Now, on the internet, the same here. First, we configured this static route to this network here, and now I will configure static routes to the DMZ network, the internal network here, and also to the external network here from the internet, on the internet router. IP route to the network of 10.1.1.0 with /24 subnet mask, and the exit interface on serial 00, and another route to the network of 172.16.0.0 with /16 subnet mask, and the exit interface on serial 000, and to the external network of 192.168.5.0 with /24 subnet mask, and the exit interface, because it is on this side, it will be the serial 001, serial 00. So now we are done with the internet router. So now I will configure the external router, which is this guy here. Enable configure terminal hostname external and the interface of serial 0, 0, 0, and the IP address of 192.168.1.2/30 subnet mask 252, and enable the port with no shut, and the interface of gig 00, the IP address of 192.168.5.1/24 subnet mask, and enable the port with no shut. Now, on the external router, I will configure a default static route from here, this router, to any network with any IP address, and the exit interface will be the serial 000 here. So exit from here, IP route to any network with this subnet mask, and the exit interface will be on serial 000. Now we are done with these two routers. Now let's move to the corp router, the corporation router. Enable, configure terminal, host name, I will name this corp. First, I will enable the security license package. I'll do this. The command goes like this: license, boot, module, C1900, technology package, security K9. Enter. Yes, we accept it. Now here, either exit from here. We need to copy the running config to startup config. Now reload, confirm, and give it a second until it is done reloading or enabling the security package. And we will confirm with this command, show version. Enable, show version, and it's showing us here that the security package has been enabled on this router. Now I will configure the interfaces. Configure terminal interface, the interface of serial 000 with the IP address of 8.8.8.1/30 subnet mask, and enable the port, and the other interface of serial 001 with the IP address of 209.165.200.254 with the /30 subnet mask. Open the port with no shut. Now I will configure a static route to the network of 209.165.200.240/28 from here to this network. So exit. The command goes like this: IP route to the network of 209.165.200.240 with /28 subnet mask 240, and the exit interface will be on the serial 001. Enter. And now from here we configured it to this network and another default route on the same router, IP route to any network with this subnet mask, and the exit interface will be on this interface of serial 000/0. Now we are done configuring the routers up to the corporation router. Next, I will disable the CDP, Cisco Discovery Protocol, on the corporation or corp router on the link to the interface to the internet router. From here to this router, so back to the corp router, on the interface of serial 000, no CDP enable. Simply just like that. Now, after I'm done here with the corp router, I will work on the internal router. Enable, configure terminal, hostname, internal. Now I'll configure a username of admin and the password, also give it admin. Enable password. On this router, we will use simply, for simplicity, Cisco. Now I will enable the license package on this router. The command goes like this: license, boot, module, C1900, technology package, security K9. Yes. And from here, exit. This time I will use the command WR. Now I will reload and confirm. And give it a few seconds till it enables the security package. Enable the password for enable of Cisco. Here I will type the command show version to see if what we did enabling the package, and it was a success. Now I will configure the interfaces on this router. Configure terminal, interface of serial 001 with the IP address of 209.165.200.253 with /30 subnet mask 252. Enable the port with no shut. And now I will configure the other interface facing the DMZ network on interface on gig 00 with the IP address of 10.1.1.254 with /24 subnet mask, and enable the port with no shut. Now I will configure sub-interfaces on the other interface on gig 01 facing the internal network. Start with the interface, sub-interface gig 01 for VLAN 10. I will configure the VLANs shortly on the switches. Encapsulation .1Q for VLAN 10 with the IP address of 172.16.10.254/24 subnet mask, and the interface, sub-interface of gig 01 for VLAN 25, encapsulation .1Q for VLAN 25, and with the IP address of 172.16.25.254/24 subnet mask, and the sub-interface of gig 01 for VLAN 99, encapsulation .1Q for VLAN 99, with the IP address of 172.16.99, sorry about that, .1/24 subnet mask. Now I will enable the port on gig 01, no shut, for the rest of the sub-interfaces. Now on the internal router, I will configure NAT. We'll have exit from here. Now IP NAT for inside source static, the IP address of 110.1.1.5, and our inside the global IP address for this on 209.165.200.241. 209.165.200.241. And another NAT also, but this is for the other server on 10.1.1.2, and the IP address of this. Enter. Now, for the interface of gig 0, 0, this will be our IP NAT for the inside, and the interface of serial 001, this will be our IP NAT for the outside. So I configured now on the router, internal router, the interfaces configured NAT also, and the sub-interfaces for the internal network. Next, I will be working on the switches. So starting with the switch one here, enable, configure terminal, host name as W1. I will add the VLANs 10, 25, and 99. VLAN 10, VLAN 25, and VLAN 99. Now, the two ports here on the switch connecting PC0 and PC1 on the ports F05 and F011. So I'll do them together. Interface range F05 and F011. Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 10. Now the other, this on this port of F012, this is to VLAN 25. Interface F0 12, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 25. Enter. Now the port connecting the switch to the internal router, I will configure this as a trunk. Gate 01, switch port mode trunk. Now, the range of, or the ports from port 1, F01 to 22 on the switch, interface range from Pass Ethernet 01 to 22, I'll configure all of these on the switch port mode access. So I'll do the same on switch 4. So on switch 4, enable, configure terminal, host name, SW4. I will create the VLAN, VLAN 10, VLAN 25, and VLAN 99. Now, here on switch 4, we have Pass Ethernet 05 here. This belongs to the VLAN 10, access VLAN 10, and the other port of Pass Ethernet 011 to VLAN 25. So back to the switch. So interface F05, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10. The other interface 11 is switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 25. Now the rest of the ports are the ranges of the port of IP range from 1, 0, 1 to 24. Also, I will configure them switch port mode access. Now I will configure the dynamic routing protocol EIGRP on the routers here. So go to the internal router, exit from here. Command goes like this: router EIGRP with the autonomous system 1. No auto summary. The network of 10.1.1.0, which is the DMZ network, with this inverse subnet mask, and the network of 172.16.10.0 with this inverse subnet mask, and this is for VLAN 10 and for VLAN 25, and the network of VLAN 99, and also the network connecting the internal router with the corporation router, the network of 209.165.200.252 with the inverse subnet mask of this. Now, passive interfaces on the port of gig 00, the port connecting the DMZ network. Passive interface for VLAN subinterface of VLAN gig 01.10, and for network 25 and 99. So gig 00, 10, 25, and 99. Now I'll work on the core network router. Enable configure terminal router EIGRP with autonomous system 1 for no auto summary, the same. Now for the network facing the internal router of 209.165.200.252 with the inverse subnet mask of this. And the passive interface, here we want it on the serial 000, the interface facing the internet. And redistribute static. Exit. So now we configured the routers, interfaces, default route, static route, and the dynamic route EIGRP, and the switches. So now I will configure secure network management for the internal router. I will configure the internal router as NTP client to the AAA NTP syslog server, and to update the router calendar, the hardware clock from the NTP source, and to timestamp log messages, and to send logging messages to the AAA NTP syslog server. So now we'll go back to the internal router here, exit. The command goes like this: NTP server. This is our NTP server on this IP address 172.16.52.2, 172.16.25.2, and to update NTP, sorry about that, NTP update calendar service timestamp log date time by the millisecond, and the logging on the host of 172.16.25.2, and for login the block for 30 seconds after 3 attempts within 60 seconds, and do the logging on failure, log, and log in on success, also log. So we are done configuring the NTP on the internal server. Next, I will configure the internal router to accept SSH connections. So back to the internal router. The domain name is the ccna.com. So IP domain name, the ccna.com, and RSA encryption key pair using a modulus of the size of the modulus is 1024 bit. So crypto key generate RSA 1024 bits, and SSH version 2, and timeout of 90 seconds and 2 authentication retries. So the command goes like this: IP SSH version 2 and IP SSH timeout for 90 seconds, IP SSH authentication retries 2, and only to use VTY lines, accept only SSH connection. So from line VTY 0 to 15, all 16 lines. Transport input SSH. So now I will configure the internal router with server-based AAA authentication, and then I will verify its functionality. So on the internal router, still on the same router, the command goes like this: first enable AAA new model, and the key to connect to the radius server is corp radius. So the command goes like this: radius server host, and as you can see, we are hosting it on this server on 172.16.25.2, and the host is 172.16.25.2, and the key, as I said, corp radius, enter. So here on the server, as you can see here, the client name is internal, client IP address, and the server type radius, and the key as we configured it here is corp radius. It's the same corp radius. And for user name, we will be using corp admin, and the password also of corp admin. So back to the router. Now, AAA authentication use the radius server as the default for console and VTY lines access, and the local database is used as the backup if the radius server connection cannot be established. So the command goes like this: AAA authentication for the default login, use the group radius. If not available, then use local. Now I will apply it to the console and the VTY line. So line console 0 for login authentication, use the default. The default here is user group radius. And exit from here. Now for the VTY lines from 0 to 15, for login authentication, use the default. Next, I will configure access control list on the internal router to implement source management access. I will create the access control list 10 to implement the security policy regarding the access to the VTY lines, and only users logged onto the NAT admin PC are allowed access to the VTY lines. So on the internal server, exit from here. So access list 10, we want to permit the host, and the host, the NAT admin here on 172.16.25.5. 172.16.25.5. And online VTY 0 to 15. Now access class 10 and the inbound. Now we are done configuring the internal router. Now I will configure switch 1 and switch 4. I will configure switch 1 to protect against STP attack. Also, I'll configure port fast on Fast Ethernet 01 to 22. So on switch 1, enable, configure terminal, the interface, the range from F01 to 22, spanning 3, port fast. Also, I will enable BPDU guard on Fast Ethernet, also the same range. So the command spanning a tree, BPDU guard, and simply we want to enable it. And then I will configure switch 1 port security and disable unused ports. I will set the maximum number of learned MAC addresses to 2 on Fast Ethernet port from 0 to 22. From 1 to 22, and allow the MAC address to be learned dynamically and to be retained in the running config, and shut down the port if a violation occurs. And also disable the unused ports. We have these ports we are not going to be using on Fast Ethernet from 2 to 4, and from port 6 to 10, and from port 13 to 22. So now on switch 1, we are still on the same range. So the command first enable port security, switch port, port security. Now it's enabled, switch port, port security for the maximum 2, switch port, port security. MAC address, we want it to be sticky. And switch port, port security, port violation, just simply shut it down. Exit. Now we have these ranges of ports from port 2 to 4, also from 6 to port 10, and from 13 to 22. These are unused ports, just shut them down. Next, I will configure the trunk link on fast Ethernet 23 and 24 on both switch 1 and switch 4. I will disable BTP negotiation on the trunking ports and set the native VLAN as VLAN 50 for the trunk links. So first, I will create VLAN 50 on the switch 1. Switch 1, exit, VLAN 50. Now exit here. The range, the two ports of the 23 and 24, switch port mode trunk, switch port no negotiate, switch port trunk native VLAN 50. I'll do the same on switch 4. Enable, configure terminal, VLAN 50, our exit. Oh, sorry. On switch 4, I was working on the corp router. Enable, configure terminal, VLAN 50, exit. Now the range of ports from FZ 23 and 24, switch port mode trunk, switch port no negotiate, and switch port trunk native VLAN 50. And as you can see, the links restored between the two switches. Now let's see what we did so far. So from PC0 here, I'll try to ping the external network here. Ping 192, doesn't matter, the switch or the server, sorry, to ping the PC or the server. The 10. And I'll see if I can ping the server. It should be successful. And from this PC here, I'll try to ping the external network. Ping 10.1.1.5. So everything is running perfectly so far. So now I will configure an iOS IPS on the internal router, on this guy here. Now on the internal router, exit. I will use the IPS signature storage location at flash. So the command goes like this: IPS configure the location on flash. Next, I will create an IPS rule named corp IPS. IPS name corp IPS. Then I will configure the iOS IPS to use the signature categories. IPS signature category. And next, I will retire the all signature category. Category, all, I will retire them, retired, true. Next, I will unretire the iOS IPS basic category. So I'll exit from here. Category iOS IPS, the basic, retired false. Exit, another exit, and then confirm. Next, I will apply the IPS rule to the interface gig00 in the out direction on this interface here, on the out direction. So still on the internal router, interface gig00, IPS, corp, IPS, out. And then I will modify the iOS IPS basic category. I will exit from here. IPS, signature, definition. I will unretire the echo request signature, the signature 2004 and the sub-signature 0. Signature 2004 and the sub-signature 0. Now, status, enter, retired false. And then I will enable the signature. Enable, true. Exit. And then I will modify the signature event action to produce an alert. Here we have the engine, enter, event action, produce alert, and deny packets that match the signature. So event action, deny packets in line, enter. Exit, another exit, another exit, and then confirm. Now, I will verify that IPS is working properly. So we have the net admin, this guy here, in the internal network. It cannot ping the DMZ web server. So on the net admin, we want to ping ping 209.165.200.242. The ping should fail. But the DMZ web server, however, can ping the net admin. So go to the DMZ web server and ping the net admin PC on 172.16.25.5. And our configuration for the IPS was successful. Next, I will configure ZPF, zone-based policy firewall, on core router. So we configured IPS here on the internal, but now on the corporation router, we will want to configure ZPF. Configure terminal. First, I will create the firewall zones. I will create an internal zone named corp inside. So, zone security, I will name it corp dash inside. Exit. And then I will create an external zone named Internet. Zone Security Internet. Next, I will define a traffic class to allow traffic from the internal network to access services in the Internet. I will create a class using the option of class map type inspect with match any keyword. I will name the class map inside protocols. So I'll exit from here, class map type inspect match any inside protocols. Next, I will match the following protocols: HTTP, TCP, UDP, ICMP, and DNS. Match protocol, HTTP, and TCP, UDP, and the protocol ICMP, and the protocol DNS. Next, I will specify firewall policies to allow internal hosts to access Internet. I will create a policy map named inside to Internet. I'll exit from here, policy map type inspect inside to Internet. I will use the inside protocols class map. So class type inspect inside protocols. Then I will specify the action. The action will be inspect for policy map. So simply type inspect, exit, and another exit. Next, I will define a traffic class to allow traffic from the Internet to access services in the DMZ network. I will create a class map using the option of class map type inspect with a match any keyword. I will name the class map DMZ web. So on the same router, class map type inspect match any DMZ web. Then I will match the protocols HTTP and DNS. Match protocol HTTP and the other protocol DNS. Next, I will specify firewall policy to allow Internet traffic to access DMZ services. I will create a policy map named Internet to DMZ web. So I'll exit from here, policy map type inspect Internet to DMZ web. I will use the DMZ web class map. So class type inspect DMZ web. Then I will specify the action of pass for the policy map. Here we type pass. Exit. Next, I will apply the firewall. I'll create a pair of zones named in to out zone with the source as corp inside and destination as internet. So zone exit, zone here, security, in to out zone. The source, as we said or created earlier, corp inside, and the destination, we want the internet. Enter. Next, I will specify the policy map inside to internet for handling the traffic between the two zones. So service policy, type inspect, inside to internet. This is between the two zones. Exit. Now, I will create a pair of zones named internet to DMZ zone with the source as internet and the destination will be the corp inside. So zone pair security internet to DMZ zone. The source in this case will be the internet and the destination will be the corp inside. Enter. Now I will specify the policy map from internet to DMZ web. So service policy, type inspect from the internet to DMZ web. Enter. Exit from here. Now I will assign interfaces to the appropriate security zones. So on the interface of serial 000, zone member security is the internet, and on the interface of serial 001, zone member security is corp inside. Enter. I will verify the configuration for the ZPF. So on the external user, this guy here, I'll see if we can access the web using URL here. So go to this top, type in www.theccna.com. So it was a success. So let's see if we, from here, if it can use the access www external nettype.com, and it was a success. So this is it for today's lab. So I hope you learned something from this lab. Sorry, it was a long lab, but whenever you configure something, make it a habit to use the show command, I would love to use them, but this lab as is, it's almost an hour and even more. So when you go to the description on this video and download the lab that you want to practice, just use everything you know about whenever you configure something, just use the show commands, and this will help you a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in my next video. Please, if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any suggestions, please write me and I'll answer you back. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Have a nice day.